So I'm going to demonstrate the way you need to practice these melodies for Music 121. So the first thing I would do is I would listen to a melody.
Do, re, mi, re, ti, so. Do, re, mi, fa, so, mi. Do, re, mi, do, re, do, ti, so. Do, mi, re, so, do.
And I would want to make sure that I could track each one of those notes as they're being sung. Now, it's kind of hard to do with a mouse, but if you can imagine that I'm pointing to each one of these things, that you might think, oh, I was able to watch it go by, and so I'm good. But I actually want you to put your finger on each one of these notes. And you can do this in your textbook. You don't have to do this here. I'm going to try with this trackpad to keep up, but I don't think I will. But the first step is to make sure that as I sing on the reference audio, you can point to each one of these notes as you go by, so you know that you are in time.
Do, re, mi, re, ti, so. Do, re, mi, fa, so, mi. Do, re, mi, do, re, do, ti, so. Do, mi, re, so, do.
Okay. And because if you can't track the notes and the sounds, you can't use the reference recording to help you know that you're right. And then the next thing I would do is I would practice saying the solfege, and I'd point to each one. And you can do this away from the recording, although you can listen to the recording many times to help you. But this would be do, re, mi, re, ti, so, do, re, mi, fa, so, mi, do, re, mi, do, re, do, ti, so, do, mi, re, so, do. If you can't do that, then there's no chance of you singing the melody and using solfege at the same time in time. You can practice little segments as you need to. The hard parts, like this should be pretty easy, do, re, mi, but maybe re, ti, so is very difficult for you, and you can count it and figure it out, and you can listen to the recording, but you want to practice re, ti, so, right? And then re, do, ti, so, mi, do. Anywhere that's difficult, do, mi, re, so, do, so that you get practice at that. And then when you're good at that, you will put the recording on and say the solfege as it goes by. And again, point at the notes. Now I'm going to try and do both. By the way, as an interim gap before there, you might put it on and just practice the difficult parts. So if you're having problems saying re, ti, so in time, maybe you put this on here and you just go like this.
Do, re, mi,
Re, ti, so.
Do, re, mi, fa,
And the next hard
so,
part might be
mi.
right here.
Do, re, mi, do,
Re, do, ti, so, do, mi, re, so, do. So maybe you only do just a section of it, you know, to make sure that you can capture that in time. But eventually you want to be able to do, re, mi, re, ti, so, do, re, mi, fa, so, mi, do, re, mi, do, re, do, ti, so, do, mi, re, so, do. And that's your first assignment to turn in. You'll be making recordings of yourself, video recordings of you pointing at each of the notes as they go by while you play this audio. And you'll be saying the solfege, not singing, just saying. So just like that, except you'll be having a video of your book and you'll be pointing to each one of the notes as they go by and you say the solfege in time with this. Some practice has to be done so you get fluent with that. That's all we're doing this week. You're making a recording of each of these with you pointing at the notes as they go by with this audio and saying the solfege in time. Yeah, that's it for right now. Don't write your solfege in, obviously. I'll see that when we're pointing at the notes. You'll notice this is a used copy that I'm using somebody started to write the solfege in, and I've tried to erase it as much as possible. I guess I didn't do quite as good a job on that one, but that's it. All right. After that, and as you get good at this, then the next thing you want to do is you want to be able to sing the melodies. So you can hum along.
Do, re, mi, re, mi, so. Do, re, mi, fa, so, mi. Do, re, mi, do, re, do, ti, so. Do, mi, re, so, do, do.
If you can hum along and you can do the solfege, just saying it in time, then it's just a matter of putting those things together. Do, re, mi, re, ti, so. Do, re, mi, fa, so, mi. Do, re, mi, do, re, do, ti, so. Do, mi, re, so, do, do. And that will be the next video that you'll submit or do live for me for testing, where you sing the solfege and the notes in time. But if you're struggling to get any of the solfege correct, that means that you haven't done the first assignment well enough. And you have to break down the difficult parts and work on it really hard to make sure that you can get in and out of tricky solfege. If you are still struggling at the end to sing these things with the solfege and the notes together, then try humming it without solfege and see if you can do that. And try singing it slower out of time. But eventually you will make a video of you with a metronome on your own, free from the audio of this, singing this on pitch with solfege in time with a metronome in the back. But for right now, start with just saying the solfege in time. Now, it gets tricky when we get into ledger lines, so you'll have to practice. And again, you can listen to the recordings and just learn them by hearing them a bunch of times. Also, then when we get to melodies 5 through 9, we're in the key of F. And so we have to change what we think of as do. When you're in the key of F, then F is do. So this one here.
Mi, do, so, mi, do, so, do, mi, re, so, ti, re, so, mi, do.
Okay. And, you have to reorient. So half of learning to sight sing is being able to sing pitches in different patterns with the solfege and get good at pattern recognition, triads, arpeggios, learning how to do scales, being able to maintain an original note in your head while you do something complicated and then come back to it after a skip. The other half is just recognizing in notation what to call things. So in key of F, F is do, and this is a brand new skill set. And this is why we want you to only say the solfege this time, because if you can't recognize, like in this one right here, where do is, that's do. That's no longer do, right? Then you'd be like do, ti, la, ti, do, re, mi, fa, do, and that's wrong. We're in the key of F. F is do. That means this is so. Fa, mi, fa, so, la, ti, do, so. Okay. And that's the other half of it. You can be excellent with your ears and your voice, but you need to learn to train your eyes theoretically to say, I recognize the key and I can reorient myself to say, therefore, these are these patterns right now that you've been practicing. So the next 4 melodies are in the key of F, and the next 4 melodies are in the key of G. So again, you have to rethink this through and say, well, if I'm in the key of G, then G is no longer sol or re in the key of F. That's no longer, it's an F sharp anyways, but this is do, that's T, right? This is re, that's mi. Again, listen to the reference videos, or sorry, audio a lot. That's how you get better at this, is just like children learning to speak. They mimic what they hear, and so they hear it many, many times before they get it right. You should kind of do the same. However, you're also grown up, and so you can look for patterns and things and optimize. This is do, so, mi, right? Mi, so, do, mi. It's the 1 chord triad. right? So, do, mi, and then re for the 5 chord, right? So, ti, re. So you can look for triad patterns and say, aha, I'm not just chasing one note at a time, I'm chasing groups of notes or sequences of notes that make sense. The most obvious sequences are scales, but chords going in different directions are fine. So you might warm up with do, mi, so, and so, ti, re, and backwards and forwards and such. All right. Hope that helps you practice. Again, to begin with, until you can just follow along pointing at the notes as they go by in the recording, there's no way you can, accurately gauge if you're doing it right or not. So you have to just be able to point at the notes as they go by. That's rhythm integrity. And then you learn the solfege and you listen to the recording and you try and get the solfege in the right order, in the right way, without stuttering or anything like that, or tripping up. And finally, eventually you can do it in time with this right along without messing up at all in terms of like sort of forgetting what the next solfege is, especially in these tricky ones where you skip, right? And you'll make a recording of that. After that, you start to learn how it sounds. And you've been training yourself because you've been listening to the recording a bunch of times and hum along with it. And then you can, out of time, start to play or sing these things without the recording with solfege and pitches. And then eventually you put on a metronome and get faster and faster. And a good way to check that you're doing it right, of course, is to make sure that you sound like the melody. So you could play the melody and then sing it back. See if they match.